And my husband's name is Chris, and he does the recording. And this is Collard Valley Cooks, where we cook like our mamas did. Today we are making my homemade from scratch carrot cake and cream cheese icing, and it is in our second cookbook. And we're going to get started, and I'm going to show you how to make the best carrot cake ever. All right, y'all, I've done this many ways over the years, and a lot of y'all probably think, why is she using that hand grater? Because this is the way I prefer it. The food processor to me is just a lot of trouble, and I just like to buy the real big carrots and use a potato peeler and get the outside skin off, and then I grate them, and it doesn't take long at all. All right, we're going to take a little bit of our flour and toss our raisins in it. It's supposed to help them stay up in the cake a little better and keep them from sinking. And sometimes I think it works, and sometimes it probably don't. I don't know. Right, there's our raisins. Okay, the biggest difference in a carrot cake and most cakes, well, for one, it's got a lot of carrots in it. For another, you use oil instead of butter or shortening. And so you typically take your shortening and mix it up with your sugar first or your butter. And because we're using oil, we're going to just mix up our sugar and eggs. 2½ cups of sugar. There's 1, 2, and 1/2. Now I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys that have these scoopers. If you have bought the scoops like I've got, you need to use the same product to measure your flour and your sugar with. Don't change them out and use a different brand or a different measuring cup, and that way they'll be what they're supposed to be. So we're going to turn this on and add 4 eggs. Our vanilla, next we're going to put in a cup of cooking oil, and I'm using corn oil, and then we're going to put in our spices. And when you make a cake and you use shortening or butter, you're using the same amount of grease or oil or whatever you want to call it. This is 1½ teaspoons of cinnamon. That was 1½ teaspoons of cinnamon, and I like ground ginger in my carrot cake, so I put in a ½ teaspoon of ground ginger. Okay, we're putting in our fruit last. So we're going to go ahead and incorporate the flour in here. And then once the flour's in here, we'll start adding our carrots, our pecans, and our raisins. So right now we're going to add 2¼ cups of self-rising flour. And I'm going to start with 2 cups, 1 on each side. And I'm going to put my little shield on here because it's going to be cloudy. All right, that's mixed about a minute. And now we're going to add our carrots. Our oven is preheated to 350 degrees. You got 3 cups of shredded carrots. We're using an 8-ounce container of crushed pineapple. Juice it all. And a cup of chopped pecans. And I think I might have a little to grow on there, in there. And that's it. That's all there is to it, except our raisins. Now I mixed up half golden and half regular raisins. And let me see. We're really only supposed to use a ½ cup. And if you want to use more, you can. I think I'm going to because I mixed them up. All right, we're going to fold this together. And get it in the pans to bake. A cake's batter normally doesn't look this wet, but it's because the butter and the shortening are room temperature, and now we're using a liquid form, so it's gonna make your batter look a little bit more wet, and that's fine. We're gonna get this batter in these 2 round cake pans. Now these are deep cake pans, and if you don't have deep ones, you're gonna need 3 pans, okay? Now these are 8-inch, so you probably could use a 9-inch and it'd be fine. And remember, a carrot cake is not going to rise quite as high. Like a regular cake almost rises double. A carrot cake is going to rise about 1/3 or even maybe a 1/4. So these are going to bake at 325 degrees until they're set and the sides start coming out from the edges a little bit and toothpick comes out clean. It's going to take them about an hour. So make sure that you get them done, okay? And especially if you're making a sheet cake, it's going to take it longer. So just be patient and don't take it out too soon, all right? All right, our cake's done. It took it an hour and 10 minutes. And it smelled up the house and smells so good. It looks very delicious. This one is pulling away from the sides. That other one, not so much yet. Yeah, it's pulling away some. So they're done and ready. Now I'm gonna let these sit out at room temperature for about 10 minutes and then we'll flip them out on some parchment paper. Oh, I can't wait to eat it. One. Well, let me tell y'all, I am going to let these cool all the way down, wrap them, put them in my freezer tonight so that I can split the layers when I ice the cake. Okay, y'all, this carrot cake is in my second cookbook. And the carrot cake, which is called My Favorite Carrot Cake, and the icing, cream cheese icing. Now, you can toast your pecans, but I recommend, thanks to you guys giving me a tip, if you toast your pecans, toast them whole, okay? Then chop them. And that way you don't have to worry about scorching tinier pieces. So we're gonna start with a stick of butter. And I'm using my whisk attachment instead of the paddle since I'm making icing. And that'll whip a little air into the icing and make it a little fluffier than if I used a paddle. So now we're gonna put in 8 ounces of room temperature cream cheese. And we're gonna whip this until it's light in color and fluffy. Okay, you can see how light in color this is once it gets mixed in there good with that butter. We're gonna add a little bit of vanilla flavoring, about a teaspoon. And we're also going to add a little evaporated milk. Evaporated milk is equivalent to cream. So if you don't have any evaporated milk, you can always use cream. So I'm going to use a tablespoon. And then we're going to add 4½ cups of powdered sugar to this. I'm going to put my shield on. We're going to add it 1/2 cup at a time, so it's going to take a few minutes. Creamy. Fluff it up. And that should make a nice, fluffy, spreadable cream cheese icing. And if you want to, you can toast the pecans, chop them, and then put them in here as well. But we have some fresh pecans, and they have a really good flavor. So we're not toasting ours today. But now a lot of the pecans you buy in the store that are dark in color are kind of oily tasting, and they actually taste better if you toast them. All right, we're gonna slice these in half. So I'm just gonna use my bread knife and follow along, turning it, watching where I'm cutting, right in half of the cake. The best way to do it is just to watch it as you slice it, instead of trying to slice it all the way through with your first try. All right, so there we have that one. It's a pretty layer. So I'm going to slice this other one, and we're going to get to decorating this up. Okay, so I'm going to put a little bit of icing on my tray. I was going to show you guys these boards I got. I got a lot of them, and I think it was $14 on Amazon, and the link is on the website. But you get a board that's good for a 6-inch cake to decorate it, and this will be an 8 or a 9, and then this would be good for 10-inch. So, of course, you could, the bigger they are, it doesn't matter. You could do a smaller cake on them. So we're going to get our first layer on here. I'm not going to put a whole lot of icing in between the layers because it's going to be rich. Okay, here's our second layer, which is just half of the first layer. And you can tell that my raisins did mostly sink to the bottom, even if we put the flour on them. And y'all might have some tips you want to share that works better than what I did. But you know what? It's all going to be good. This one, I'm going to try to center it. And I've told y'all before, some of you, if you haven't seen my videos, my mother was a cake decorator. So I usually give a few little tips. And today I'm just going to tell you that you always put your icing on first. So you're going to start with a good bit of icing. You're never going to just take a little bit of icing out and ice the cake like that. You're always going to start with a lot of icing. You're going to put your pointer finger on top of whatever spatula you're using so that it can help guide and press into the icing like a point. This on there, it's going to be a pretty tall cake. Pretty tall. All right, and now you get to use all your icing that's left. Now, I didn't make a huge batch of icing, just enough to ice this cake is all it is. And that's why I used it sparingly in between the layers, because you want enough on the outside that it's going to be pretty. So I'm going to go ahead and scrape it all out of here and put it on the top. And we'll know what we got to work with. We got to make that work, y'all. I think we can do it. So you're just going to take your finger, like I told you, and you always want to kind of angle your spatula and never have it straight like this, unless you're just trying to smooth the cake. And we're just going to go around it and try to push some down the side. Now we're just going to make the top a little pretty. We're going to put a few pecans on the top for the top. And then on the side, because I don't have a lot of icing, it's going to be kind of hard to swirl it. And we might can. We'll try. Let me hide that anywhere I've got a thing showing. We'll try to hide it. So just patch it up a little. All right, we're just going to put a couple of carrots on here to make it fun since it's about time for Easter. I'm just using a writing tip. Not even a tip, really. I just cut the end of my bag off. Make these bigger. Okay, and we got a little stem. Carrots really don't have leaves. Well, they have them, but it's more like a real sporadic parsley type leaf. So we're just going to put a little stem on the top of them. Now I've got icing already made, so it's easy for me to mix up a little bit of orange and green. You can get it at the store already made. Buttercream that I got from Sam's Club, okay? If you put a few on the side, you can cover up your mess ups if you have any. But I'm not going to put them on the side because I think it's pretty. There you have it. Carrot cake, homemade, from scratch with our white lily flour and a cream cheese icing. And I do put ginger in mine. A lot of people do not. They use a stronger spice with the cinnamon, but I like a lighter flavor for my carrot cake, and I think you guys are going to really enjoy it. Now we're going to slice into it, and I'll show you how pretty it looks on a plate. Right through the carrots. And it's got fruit in it, so I'm using a bread knife. It's a raisin. And it's usually hard to get the first piece out of it, but we'll see how we do. And there it is. Looks delicious to me. Now that is a moist carrot cake. It's absolutely, positively my favorite carrot cake. And that's what my recipe says, my favorite carrot cake. Y'all have a wonderful and blessed day. And we thank you so much for watching Collard Valley Cooks, where we cook like our mamas did. I hope y'all have a happy Easter and make a carrot cake for your bunny rabbit that comes by.
Cooking time, it's over now. Tammy, she just showed you how to cook it up like Mama used to do. So go on out and have some fun. Now you're getting dinner done with Collard Valley Cooks, your #1. Collard Valley Cooks, hey, we have.
Hey y'all, it's Chris and Tammy with Collard Valley Cooks. And today we are making my favorite chocolate cake layers and chocolate icing. Both of these recipes are in our first cookbook. You can't find a better chocolate cake. All right, y'all, we're gonna start by adding our dry ingredients. We're gonna sift those together in a bowl, set them aside, and then start our cake mix. All right, so you're gonna use 2½ cups of self-rising flour. There's 1 cup, 2 cups, and ½ cup. You're going to add your soda and baking powder. So we're going to put in a teaspoon, even if this is self-rising, this is a good recipe, so trust it. Teaspoon of baking powder. 3/4 cups of Hershey's cocoa. Or whatever cocoa you can find, but my favorite's Hershey's. All right, and then you've got soda, a ½ teaspoon. ½ teaspoon of soda. I'm sure when my pup hears me say that, she thinks I'm talking about her. Because our dog's name is Soda. All right, so we're gonna sip this together. So that's your flour, your soda, your baking powder, and your cocoa. And I just like to do this because it really distributes the cocoa and the cake batter better than just throwing cocoa in there, okay? So this is my favorite way to make chocolate cake, is to sift it together first. Now we're going to set that aside and start mixing up our cake. We're going to start, let's see, with sugar, butter, cooking oil, and eggs. So you're going to have 3/4 cups of cooking oil. I'm using corn oil. Just any canola or vegetable oil is fine. 3 eggs. There's 1. 2. 3. Our butter, which is a stick at room temperature, which is a 1/2 cup. And I use salted butter in everything I make. So no matter which recipe you got, if I'm saying butter, it's salted. Okay? And then you got your sugar, and your sugar is 2 1/4 cups. There's 1, 2 1/4. Now I'm going to turn it on. Oh, by the way, I'm using this old-fashioned mixer today because my daughter is coming over. She thought this was the coolest thing that we got, this mixer. It's an old antique. So that's what we're using today. Since she's coming, I'm making her cake with it. And the cool thing about this mixer is if you look, it'll say blend cookies, muffins, 1 bowl cakes, and it tells you what number, add dry ingredients, to put the mixer on to do stuff like that. And we're about to add dry ingredients, so we'll put it on that one. Now this cake has a very wet batter, okay? So I'm going to just go ahead and start putting stuff in here. We're going to add sour cream. So 1/2 cup of sour cream, 1 cup of milk, I'm going to go ahead and put some vanilla in it. I'm going to start adding my dry ingredients. You can add them a 1/2 cup at a time or 1/4 cup, however you want to do it. And once you get about half of your ingredients in there, then you're going to put in your coffee. This is 8 ounces of strong coffee. Now I'm going to turn it up. And we're going to beat this about 2 minutes. It looks really good. Now this is a simple cake, super easy to make. I mean, it's really easy. It's got a very liquidy batter. It is super moist and delicious. And if you don't like coffee, try to use the coffee anyway because it tastes so good with chocolate. You're not going to notice, you're not going to taste the chocolate. Just enhances the flavor of the chocolate. All right, when you're mixing a cake batter, you shouldn't overmix it. And so you should mix it about 2 minutes once your flour's added in there. And that should do it. That's all you got to do. All right, I'm going to spray a 13 by 9 sheet cake pan. And I'm making a sheet cake today instead of a layer cake. It's so much easier on us and quicker. It's easier to serve too. And we're going to make May's favorite chocolate icing. So you'll get to see that too. Now all of my cake layers that's in the first cookbook have more flour, much more flour in them than a cake mix has. So you're going to find that they're going to make a lot deeper cake than a cake mix. All right, we'll see you in a little bit. Boy, it's going to be good. I put too much batter in my cake, y'all, and it ran over in my new oven. You really shouldn't fill it over halfway full, and it was about 3/4 full. So save your extra batter and make cupcakes out of it. I messed up and put it all in my 13 by 9, and so it's in the bottom of my stove. But it looks so good. It's going to be delicious. And now I got a stove to clean up, so don't make that mistake. My cake batter recipes make a lot of cake batter. So no matter what pan you're using, make sure that you don't fill it over halfway full. The only cake that's in there that doesn't rise very much is the carrot cakes and the cakes that have a lot of fruit in them, like my fruit cake, that kind of stuff. But just a normal layer cake, if you use my homemade layers, I wouldn't fill it over half full. But don't it look delicious? And I can eat a piece of it. Now, I will tell you this. If you're going to make a 13 by 9 instead of a round layer, I would bake it at 325, not 350, because it takes a lot longer to cook a large cake like this and get it completely done in the middle than it does a round layer cake, okay? So I would turn the oven down to 325 degrees, which is what I did with this cake. And you can tell it's not a bit too brown, and it is so good. All right, I'm getting me a piece of parchment, and I'm actually going to flip this cake out, mainly because we're doing a video today, and I want it to have time to cool off good before I ice it. But now you can leave this in the pan and just ice it in the pan if you want to. I just don't have time for it to cool off. So what I want to do is flip it out to help cool it off sooner, but you don't have to do that. Since this is a very delicate cake, I'm going to do it this way. It's a super soft crumb. But it's a very pretty layer and very tall. So, I mean, if you've got a regular oven that you can put a pan underneath it, you can go ahead and make it like this and let it boil over if you want to. And that way it's a nice, big, tall layer. And if not, that's fine too, whatever you want to do. But look how pretty and tall that is for a birthday cake. So we're going to ice this with May's favorite chocolate icing. So we'll mix that up right quick. I'm going to go put this in the big freezer and get it cooled down some. This icing is my family's favorite fudge icing. It is a lot like the icing that people make on the stovetop without all the fuss. It tastes like it. You can make it really rich in chocolate by using water, or you can make it milk chocolate by using milk. My family likes it made with water. Okay, they like it real fudgy. So we are going to use 3/4 cups of cocoa, 3/4 cups of water with a stick and a half of butter, and we're actually going to put this in the microwave and get it warm enough to melt the butter good. So it's a stick and a half, which is 3/4 cups of butter with 3/4 cups of water with 3/4 cups of cocoa. And so the only other thing we use is 8 cups of powdered sugar and some vanilla flavoring. So we're going to put this in the microwave, all right? And I'm going to put a cloth over it so it don't make a mess. Because Lord knows I've already got a mess in my stove today. I don't need a mess in my microwave too. Now I'm going to sift this powdered sugar because we've moved and we've been all over the place and it is just not light and fluffy like it should be, all right? So I'm just going to measure it. There's 2 cups of it, and I'm not putting my cocoa in there because I don't like getting cocoa in my sifter, okay? So we will whisk in the cocoa once we're finished doing this part. All right, that's good. That's plenty of powdered sugar. Now we're going to add our cocoa. This makes a lot of icing. Okay, so just put it in your mixing bowl and turn it on a low speed and let it mix up before you start adding your liquid. You can tell on the side of that bowl I need to go around it with a spatula. So you just want to mix your cocoa and your powdered sugar up good. And now you're going to add your warm butter and water, okay? Okay. Okay, I'm going to add a little vanilla to it. That's a little bitty piece of butter melting right there on the top. That's what that is. Boy, that looks good, don't it? Looks very delicious. We're just going to take this and put it on the sheet pan and ice it for her birthday. Let me get me some scissors and trim it a little bit. The actual parchment part. And we're not decorating it or anything. I just wanted to ice it up. I wanted to show y'all that this has plenty of icing in the recipe. All right, I'm going to grab my turntable just because it's easier. Now, if you want your icing thin, like if you're icing round layers and you want to put it on there really thin, you can do it with this icing. But if you don't ice it immediately, you can tell it's starting to get thick already. You can always microwave it a little bit. Just warm it up a little bit if you got it in a glass bowl like this. So I'm just going to put a lot of icing on the top to start with. And this is going to want to slide, so I'm just going to hold on to it. I didn't put icing underneath the parchment. All right, But I just wanted y'all to see how pretty this is if you want to make a birthday cake out of it. And of course, we're going to cut it and let y'all see how it looks on the inside as well. The key to icing chocolate is make sure you're always on the icing and not on the cake. And have plenty of icing on the top to push it over. And if you do that, then it usually works pretty good. I'm just trying to get the corners pretty, and then I'm going to put a design in it. But you got to hurry because it does, you know, start setting up pretty good. All right, here we go. Then we can do a little bit of a swirl on the side. You can't beat it. And there you have it, a good old chocolate cake. I promise you'll like it. And you don't have to flip it upside down and ice it like I did. You could just ice it in the sheet pan and make it simple. If you ice it in the sheet pan, I would make a half a recipe because you can see I've got extra. This makes a lot of icing in case you want to make one of those really tall stack chocolate cakes, you know, with the thin layers. But you can make a half recipe and ice it in the sheet pan and make everybody just very happy. Super moist. And remember, we just iced this cake. Let's get a bite. Yummy. Boy, that's good. That is so good. It'll be absolutely delicious with some vanilla ice cream. Woo! Y'all give my chocolate cake a try. You're going to love it. And we will see you next time on Collard Valley Cooks, where we cook like our mamas did. Bye, y'all. Love ya.
Cooking time, it's over now. Tammy, she just showed you how to cook it up like Mama used to do. So go on out and have some fun. Now
It's Tammy with Collard Valley Cooks. Today I'm making a meringue pie. Why? Because the fella that's out there working on the driveway has an anniversary today. So I am making his wife a lemon meringue pie. I have the pie crust in the oven pre-baking because you do have to bake the crust first. And okay, when you make a lemon meringue, the first thing you're going to do is put it in a pie crust. Now I got this, it's a refrigerated pie crust, and I'm just going to try to center it in this bowl as good as I can so that I have about the same amount overlapping everywhere. And I'm just going to pinch the sides together. For a lemon meringue, you pre-bake your pie crust and you make sure it's good and toasty, because the only thing we do with a lemon meringue to cook it in the oven is cooking the meringue on the top. So it'll be in the oven about 20 minutes, and that's not long enough to cook a pie crust, of course. So we go ahead and prick it with a fork. I just use my 2 fingers. I push up against the side with this finger, and I use my 2 fingers on my right hand because I'm right-handed, and I pinch. And that's my favorite crust to do. It's pretty, it's easy, It's fast and simple. So that's what we're doing. Now I'm going to prick it with a fork, good, all over. And we're going to pre-bake this until it's nice and brown. All right, lemon meringue pie is in our second volume cookbook. It says in a glass batter bowl using a wire whisk. So we're going to get out a wire whisk. Mix your dry ingredients. So we're going to start with cornstarch. There's 6 tablespoons of cornstarch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A 1/4 teaspoon of salt. So I'm just going to put in a little bit of salt. How's that? And sugar. So we got to have a cup of sugar, regular sugar. Okay. This is a 1/4 cup, so we'll take 4 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to whisk this up together. So you're whisking your dry ingredients together. So you got your cornstarch, your salt, and your sugar. And if you're tuning in late, we're making a lemon meringue pie for the guy that's working in the yard. It's his anniversary. All right, that looks good to me. Now we're going to juice a lemon or 2. So I like to cut the little tip off of the lemon. This one might actually fit in my squeezer. And when you use a lemon squeezer, this is a lime squeezer. You actually, instead of doing it like your mother did in the old-fashioned kind, because the ripples are small, you actually flip it upside down in these type of squeezers. And y'all might know that, but not everybody does. So either people are getting on to me because they think I'm doing it wrong or right. It's so funny. Okay, so we're going to squeeze this lemon. And I need a 1/2 cup, so we're going to be squeezing more than 1. Now before I squeeze the next one, I did this the last time I made this, I'm crazy. Before I squeeze this one, I'm going to zest it first. And I'm just going to zest it into our water, I guess. So y'all can see it. It's not going to hurt it, it's just going to be in the filling that we make for the lemon meringue. Our pie crust is pre-baking in the oven. The video y'all saw the other day, I didn't have a microplaner. All I had was a small zester. I still have it in the drawer. It makes bigger pieces. And after a friend of mine watched the video years ago, she sent me this microplane. It's so nice. Her name is Mary Mitchell, and you'll see her on here. She watches. I just happen to have lemons in the refrigerator. He said that was her favorite pie, so maybe she'll like this. I hope so. You can see most of the seeds are in the bottom. So I'm just going to use this little strainer. You can get these for like a set of 3 for really cheap, even at the grocery store. Wait a minute, I'm doing it backwards. Crazy! Okay, we're going to strain this. Now we got to put in our egg yellows. There's 4 of them. And you're going to reserve the white out for the meringue. So we'll be making a meringue in a minute. A lot of y'all have a lot of questions about meringue and how to make it not weep and different things like that. So I'm hoping that I get to cover those things today with y'all. So these eggs have been at room temperature, so they're a little softer and harder to separate. But I am going to put the whites on one side, the yellows in here. Let me put this back here so you can see what I'm doing. And the shell there. How's that? Want at least 4 if you want to make a pretty meringue for the top of the pie. And if you want to impress somebody, you can always put 5 on there. Because this is the only thing that's going to make it yellow. You know, the lemon look yellow. The lemon filling look yellow. I think that was 4. And so I think we'll just go ahead and throw one in there since this is to impress his wife today. And say happy anniversary. It's not going to hurt the recipe. Okay? So we're going to set our whites to the side. And we're going to pour this in our dry ingredients. But first I gotta wash my hands a little bit. I'm gonna get this pie crust out right quick. There it is, y'all. It's nice and toasty. So we're gonna set it over here to the side and let it cool down some. And I'm just gonna close the oven. So here we go. We're gonna take our dry ingredients. First I'm gonna whisk this a little bit just to get the eggs mixed in a little bit. Smells so good and lemony. Whisk it really good. Now a lot of people that make puddings, my puddings, curds and fillings in the microwave, they use the time that I have in my recipe book. In every one of my recipes it says continue at intervals until it gets thick. But still people take it out and they think it's going to thicken later. It is not going to thicken later. Make sure it's thick before you put it in your pie shell. And that is any recipe that you're making that's a pudding or a curd in the microwave. You don't need to take it out early because everybody's microwave is different. Everybody has different wattages, so it may take a little longer. And it's simple. Just leave it in there until it starts to thicken. So we're going to turn around and put this in the microwave. I brought it in here for y'all today. And we're going to put it on the first 3 minutes. And I cook it at the high setting. Mine has a 1-minute button, so that's simple. Alright, while that is getting thick, I'm going to pick up some of my mess, put it in the sink, and then I'm going to talk to y'all a little bit about the meringue. We're going to mix up our meringue, but we're going to wait a few minutes because it takes about 4 minutes to mix up meringue, okay? It takes a little longer to make this in the microwave. And I want to put it on there. If you beat up meringue and you let it sit over 5 minutes or so, then it turns into like this puffy, it's not pretty and creamy and makes swirly meringue. It changes the consistency. So we're going to wait and start beating it up once I'm almost done with this pudding. Now, it would be nice for this pudding to come to almost room temperature before I put on my meringue. But I don't really have time for that today so much. So I will probably pour it out, put it in a pie plate, put it in the freezer while we make the meringue. And that way, it'll at least be cooled down some. And the main thing is that you don't want such a drastic change between the filling and the meringue that it's going to cause that sugar to weep as well. So it's been in here 3 minutes. I'll put my whisk over there. It hasn't even started to thicken. But even if it hasn't, y'all, you have to take it out and whisk it. Because you don't want the cornstarch or flour, whatever you're making. This don't have flour, but like my banana pudding does. you don't want it to settle into the bottom, okay? So you whisk it and then microwave it another 3 minutes. All right, timer's almost off. This is the second 3-minute microwave. So I'm gonna let y'all see it. Starting to thicken and look creamy. I'm gonna let it get a little bit thicker. I mean, that's creamy, but it's not set up good and thick. You want it to be good and thick, okay? So here we go again. We're gonna put it on 2 more minutes this time. By that. Now look at this. Bubbly and creamy. One, 2. So I don't put vanilla in here, but if you were using vanilla, then you would put it in at this point. You don't want to cook your vanilla. All right, I'm going to go ahead and squeeze a little bit more lemon juice in here just because I want it to be a little bit more lemony. I did it through the little strainer so I wouldn't get seeds in there. All right, now we're going to pour this out on a couple of pie plates, and we're going to stick it in the freezer. Now I'm just doing this so that the filling, now I don't tell you to do this on the recipe book, so that the filling is a little bit cooler when we put the meringue on. It don't have to be cold, but it needs to be a little cooler than it is. A little more support. Okay. Now we're going to start our meringue. We're going to add our egg whites. I'm going to go ahead and turn it on. It's going to be loud. Alright, so we're going to add some powdered sugar. And I'm going to add a ½ cup of powdered sugar, y'all. So here goes the first ½ cup. And there's a ½ cup of powdered sugar. It's sitting on the side. Let me get it off the side. High speed. And now we're going to add our cream of tartar. ½ teaspoon of cream of tartar. We're going to beat this till stiff peaks form. It usually takes about 3 to 4 minutes. There's our meringue. I'll show it to y'all. Now, it is a little different when you use powdered sugar because powdered sugar has cornstarch in it. So it don't look quite as shiny and glossy. And then you don't have to worry about it weeping. All right. We're going to start this pie. Here's our pie crust. Right now this pie crust is still a little warm. So we're going to put the filling in here. So that's good, because when he takes it to her, I want it to be set up. Now we're going to go ahead and put our meringue on there while it's still pretty and get it in this 350-degree oven. And you need to cook your meringue for a minimum of 20 minutes. So turn your oven temperature down if you're afraid it's going to get too brown. But the egg whites do need to cook, y'all. And I am going to edit this video and put it on my channel. Because this is such a good pie, you know. And this is my recipe, so. But I thought y'all would enjoy watching me make it this morning. So when you do meringue, you're going to want to go around the edge and make sure you seal it good. So let me just go ahead and start pushing this down some. And I typically, I'm going to turn myself so y'all can get a better angle of how I do this. So I take my spatula and I push it around the edge. It's the first thing I do. Now, I've got a lot of meringue on this pie because it's her anniversary. This is 5-egg meringue. It's a little taller. That's wanting to fall off, so you got to be careful with your pie crust. These pie crusts that are refrigerated, to me, you can't beat them. I think they're better than homemade pie crust. And the ones out of the freezer, they don't taste near as good as these. So just seal it first. Make sure you go all the way around and that you got a good seal all the way around, and then you can start decorating the top with your swirls. And make sure you do a good job sealing it, because that will also cause it to weep as well or pull apart. So I'm just going across and making sure there's a little hole, and double check your sides. Now we're just going to swirl, and I like to just start it this way to get it smooth, and then I like to do a circle swirl. And you can work with it. The cream of tartar helps it to stay pretty and workable, to make a beautiful, you know, pretty top. I'm going to scoot some of this over here. And do some deep ones just to make it look contrast with the colors, because when it bakes, it's going to turn golden brown. If you have it on the right temperature and you bake it for the right amount of time, it ain't going to burn. It's just going to get a pretty golden brown. Do not broil a meringue, okay? This pie's ready, y'all. We're going to get it out of the oven. It looks beautiful and it looks so pretty. I wish I could cut it for you. I may actually go ask him, do you care if I cut this pie for my viewers before I give it to your wife? Oh, me. So we're going to get it out. And I just take the whole rack out. And that way, I don't mess up the crust on it. But I'm going to show y'all the pie up close so y'all can see how pretty it is. Oh, I'm not taking it off. I'm going to let it cool a minute first so I can pick it up. Our beautiful lemon meringue pie. Hope y'all enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching Colored Valley Cooks, where we cook like Mama did. Bye, y'all. Happy anniversary. All right, I'm going to start by showing you what all's in this recipe. I put it together myself because I wanted all my favorites in one cake. You're going to have a strawberry cake mix. You're going to make it go a little further by adding a cup of self-rising flour. You're going to use 3 large eggs, 3/4 cup of vegetable oil, an 8-ounce can of crushed pineapple with the juice. You're going to use a 1/2 cup of coconut. I'm not going to use the whole bag today, and I'll tell you why later. We're going to use a 1/2 cup of chopped pecans, some ripe bananas, vanilla extract, and some whipped cream. Okay, and I'm just using Cool Whip to ice it with. And right now, we're just starting the cake mix. So we're going to start with our eggs. So you have 3 eggs. When I do cake mixes, I usually start with my wet ingredients. And that way the cake mix doesn't get stuck in the bottom of the mixer. So we're starting with the 3 eggs, 3/4 cup of vegetable oil. And we're going to turn that on, mix it up a little bit. And then we're going to add our pineapple, our vanilla, and I'm going to turn it off for a second and mash these bananas up. Okay, when you use your pineapple, you're going to use juice and all, just to give you that tip. So it needs that liquid in there, y'all. Now we're going to mash up 2 ripe bananas and make sure they're ripe. Lots of times when you go to the grocery store, the bananas are green, but they typically have some ripe ones laying over to the side where people have just left one banana out, and that's usually the ones I pick up. So you're just going to mash up this banana good. We're going to add that to our mixer now. It already smells really good. In a way, it's kind of like a hummingbird cake with strawberry instead of just regular flour. Okay, so now we have in the pineapple, the bananas, the vanilla, and now all we have left is the cake mix and flour. So I think I'll go ahead and put the cake mix in here. Turn it on, and then we'll add our flour. So it's a cup of flour, so we'll add a 1/2 cup at a time. Now you're going to add a 1/2 cup of Baker's sweetened coconut. And of course, you don't have to get that brand, but it's my favorite. And a 1/2 cup of chopped pecans. There you have it. That's my Godsend cake, and boy, is it delicious. So we're going to mix this up and get them in the cake pans. Now, I've done this cake a couple of different ways. I have made it and iced it with all Cool Whip, which is my favorite. That's what I'm doing today. If you want more coconut, you can ice it with your Cool Whip and then cover it in coconut, okay? Or if you wanted a richer version, you could always use the strawberry icing recipe that's on the website, or you could use cream cheese, either one, all right? So this cake could really be changed up a lot just with whatever you decide to frost it with. But I like the lighter version so that I can taste the cake more, and I really like that Cool Whip, okay? Or whipping cream icing. But now I know a lot of y'all like cream cheese, and you could never get enough cream cheese icing, so this would be a good one for it. You're going to spray 3 cake pans. You can use 9 or 8-inch. I like to use the 8-inch because it makes it a tall cake, but most people have 9-inch pans these days. Use what you got. And we're going to get this batter in the pans and get it in the oven, and boy, is it going to be delicious. Don't that look like it's full of goodness? Only thing that's not in here is cherries. And I guess you could add them. I'm going to spread that out before I add the rest of it. Make sure they look kind of even. They don't have to be perfect. But now, if you're making these for a special occasion or you're making them to sell, of course, you would want it to look, you would want them to have the same amount in them so that it looked really pretty when it's sliced. And you can always measure it or weigh it if you've got a scale. Alrighty, we're going to get these in the oven and bake it. This is a very delicious cake, y'all. That one feels like it's got the most in it. All right, let's bake it up. All right, these are ready. So you're just going to take them out of the oven and let them sit for about 5 minutes, and you're going to flip them upside down on some parchment paper. And they need to cool completely before you ice them, of course, with your whipping cream. All right. You can tell which cakes were in the back of the oven. They always get browner when they're in the back. This one was in the front. And now we're just going to let them cool down. Now you're going to want your cakes up on a cooling rack. Don't leave them sitting on the counter or they'll sweat on the bottom. And I'm going to let these cool all the way down. All right, so you want your Cool Whip to be thawed completely. And if you're making this at home, you can just ice it with Cool Whip. But I'm going to do mine really pretty, and I'm going to use a tip to make it pretty. So what I've got here is something to put the cake on so that when I transfer it over to this, I have it on a board already. You can get these on my website if you want to, under bake, I believe it's under bakeware. All my stuff like this is. So you're just going to put the cake down, and you're going to get your Cool Whip in between your layers. Now, if you want to, you can put a little coconut in between your layers if you want to, but I'm not going to do that today. I want this just to be a really light and delicious cake, and so I'm not making it heavy, okay? You're just going to stack them right on top of each other. You flip it upside down. Take a look. Make sure it's like it ought to be. Now we're going to put a little more. Just like so. Last layer. And I have sliced up a few strawberries just to make it pretty. And if you're going to take this somewhere, you want to make sure and put your strawberries on right before you leave so that they look fresh, okay? So now I'm going to smooth this out of the way. I'm going to fill a bag up with my whipping cream or Cool Whip, whatever you are using. Okay, so I'm just going to start on the side, and we're just going to do a zigzag. So we're just going to zigzag it back and forth like this. That's all we're going to do. It's going to be super simple and easy and fast. It's going to wind up really pretty too. Where some of the holes are, we're going to put a strawberry on top, okay, to kind of cover those up. So you're just going to slide it off and get it on your serving. You can just kind of go around and mend some holes if you want to with your finger or the rest of your Cool Whip. And we're just going to put some strawberries on the top to make it pretty. Actually, I was going to put my whole strawberry there. I've got one I saved that's whole. Put right in the middle. I remember I took this to a gathering we had, a family gathering, and everybody really loved it with the Cool Whip. Now, you can make it out of real whipping cream if you want to, but just remember, like I told you, you're not going to decorate it with strawberries until you're ready to walk out the door. And it is good to keep this one refrigerated because it's super moist layers and they don't really need to be left out at room temperature overnight or too long. It's really moist. All right, there's a piece. And now we have a piece of cake. Chris's is bigger than mine to dig into. You can see those pecans down in there. It has the banana, the pecans, the coconut, the strawberry. You talk about delicious. It's delicious. And to me, the cake is so good. It's great with just a light whipping cream. It's so good and it has so much good stuff in the cake layers. You can try different icings and see how your family likes it the best. We thank you so much for watching Collard Valley Cooks, where we cook like our mamas did. Y'all make sure and try my Godsend cake. Hey y'all, I'm Tammy. The cameraman is Chris, and this is Collard Valley Cooks, where we cook like our mamas did. Today we're just making a good old-fashioned custard pie with coconut custard or French coconut in our first cookbook. It's gonna be delicious. It is so good to see everybody. We're finally in my kitchen that's finished. I'm so excited. I did get me a little lapel. Somebody told me about it, and we're hoping it'll make the sound a little bit better in here because we do have a high ceiling. You can see the sink is in. They just put it in today, and since the contractors just left today, they put in this countertop yesterday, they put in the sink today, and since they just left today, I'm doing something simple. We're making a pie, and I'm going to make one of my daddy's favorite. And that is what my mama called French coconut. Some of y'all call it egg custard, and y'all just add coconut to it, or coconut custard. And so I always start out, I buy my pie crusts. At the store. And we're just going to lay this in here. This is a refrigerated pie crust. And to tell you the truth, I don't even know what brand it is. I think I might have got these at Sam's Club, and I'm pretty sure it's Pillsbury. But this is a 9-inch pie, and today we're making a recipe that's actually in our first cookbook. And I just always just take the extra and I just pinch it. It's the easiest way to do it, and it's good and it's pretty. It only takes a second. And of course, you always got a little bit more in some places than you do others, and that's all right. If you're real picky, you can pinch it and move it. but I'm not picky. Matter of fact, my mother and my grandmother used frozen pie crusts. They used pet Ritz or something like that, frozen pie crust. Y'all know. Some of y'all still use them. Okay. That's all there is to it. Yeah, it's got a little bit of bubble in the bottom of it, so I'm gonna take my handy dandy tool. If I can find it. I'm gonna put a few holes in it. The bad thing about doing that though with egg custard is it's gonna run up under there. So I'm just gonna let this air release and then I'll close it back up. How's that? Just push your air over to them and let it come out. And then we're just gonna close it back up. Like that. Okay. Because if you leave it open, when you've got a liquidy pie, especially egg custard, if you poke it, it'll go down underneath there and make a big mess and it's hard to serve the pie. Now there's our pie crust. And this is super simple and easy. So you use 3/4 cups of sugar. That's a half. And then we'll need 1/4. This is cheap sugar from Walmart, and so it's kind of lumpy. But it does the trick. Okay, then we're gonna crack 4 eggs, and I've already washed them. They came from our chickens. And now I've got my trash can right next to my workspace, so I can just use the trash can right next to me, and it is so convenient. Now, a lot of y'all want me to save those shells for my chickens, and can I say, I give them oyster shells to make their things harder, and we actually buy the better feed for them too. So, they're good to go. All right, we're gonna throw these eggs in there. And somebody told me that the reason my fresh egg had those little red specks in there was because I had a rooster. I don't even have a rooster. We don't have a rooster, so they're not fertilized. I think it's just the way it is when you've got fresh eggs. Now, when you make a deep dish or a 9-inch pie like I'm doing, you have to use 4 eggs. If you just got an 8-inch pie crust, then you would use 3 eggs, okay? So you up the buttermilk and you up the eggs if you're making a deeper pie or a bigger pie. So we're gonna use 1/2 cup of buttermilk, since we got a deeper pie. Get all of it out here. Little vanilla, and this is vanilla flavoring and not extract, so I always use a little extra. And now we're just going to beat it up together. It's really an egg custard, but you add coconut to it. You just got to mix it all up together and get it good and smooth. Let me make sure I ain't forgot nothing. You got your coconut, your vanilla, your buttermilk, your eggs, your sugar. Oh, a stick of melted margarine. We don't have that in here. Oh, let's not forget the butter. We got our microwave today, so we're about to use it. You think it's ready to be used, Eddie?
I have no idea. You said you took something out of it. the liner or whatever.
We'll see how it works. Man, at the microwaves. They have microwaves now that are convection ovens and air fryers and all different kinds of stuff. I just got a microwave oven. I didn't get one of the Cadillac ones, and it was still expensive. They can really run a lot of money if you get one that does everything. But you got one appliance instead of 3. So it makes sense, I guess. So we're gonna see how it melts my butter today. I'm gonna break it in. Now you don't want to cook your eggs, so you don't want to get your butter too hot, or you'll be having scrambled eggs, okay? So I'm gonna just pour this in there a little bit at a time and beat it as I pour it. Now I just take my coconut. My favorite is Baker's. It's always really moist. And that's my favorite. Am I holding it upside down? It's very moist. It is sweetened coconut, if you want to know. And you take your coconut and you put it all in your pie crust. And make sure you got enough in there. Don't put too much, because you want to taste the egg custard too. But you want it to cover the top of the pie. Now, a lot of people put coconut in their sweet potato pie, but my daddy likes it like that. I don't know why I thought of that, I just did. All right, and then you're just gonna take your mixture and you're gonna pour it over the top of your coconut, and you're gonna bake it. So we're starting off with something really easy because I'm already tired. The day's almost over. Me and Chris has still got to eat supper. And so I thought I'd make something delicious to show you guys this Saturday. In our new kitchen, you can see we got the white countertops. They're Formica, which is plastic laminate, just old-fashioned plastic laminate. We're going to get this in here. And I do put this on the bottom just so that you guys can watch it bake. So when you cook it, you can put it in the middle part of your oven if you want to. All right, we're gonna sit it right here, let it cool down a minute, and then we'll cut us a piece. Boy, it looks good. All right, this is a warm, it's really a hot pie. Not a warm pie, but a hot pie. So you know if it cuts hot, it's gonna cut at room temperature like it should. I want to cut a pretty piece for the picture. I say that at the same time I smash it on the top. It's nice and not stuck to the bottom because we made sure that was sealed. My daddy's favorite. Okay, this is the first piece I cut. It looks good and delicious. It's got plenty of coconut. After all these pies and stuff I've made you guys, and desserts. These Old Faithfuls that's in our first cookbook, you just can't beat them. And remember, this is hot. So it's not staying together good because it's just out of the oven. Oh my gosh. Talk about delicious. Now that's a good pie. Y'all come back and see us on Collard Valley Cooks, where we cook like Mama did. We'll see you next time, and hopefully I'll be cooking up some good old regular food. We'll see. All right? Bye, y'all. Love ya.
Cooking time, it's over now. Tammy, she just showed you how to cook it up like Mama used to do. So go on out and have some fun. Now you're getting dinner done with Collard Valley Cooks, your number one. Collard Valley Cooks, hey.
Hey, y'all. I'm Tammy, and this is Collard Valley Cooks. Today we're making a cheese surprise pie, and it is going to be a surprise. Let's get started. This recipe is coming out of a Southern Living dessert book. This was a series of cookbooks that my mom had, and this one is called Cheese Surprise Pie. All right, you need a 9-inch pie crust. You can buy some crust and roll it out in your pan like I do if you want to. It's the easiest to do it this way. And then stick it in here like that. Then you know it's in the middle. And even then, the edges aren't perfect. There's a lot of extra right here, and there's not much right here, so I'm going to trade it out. And then I'm just going to crimp it. For this pie, the first thing we're going to do is add 2/3 cup of sugar. I'm going to add just a tiny bit more because I didn't have them quite full. And then you're going to put in 2 8-ounce blocks of room temperature cream cheese. And 2 eggs, large eggs. There's 1. And 2. And it says a scant of almond extract. And then she's got a 1/2 teaspoon. And that's kind of a lot more than a scant, I would say. So we're going to use a 1/2 teaspoon. I would say that's about 3 scants. I don't know. I've got some little measuring spoons that viewers have sent me that have a scant, a smidgen, a pinch, but I don't really know where they are when I moved. All right, we're going to mix this up until it's nice and creamy. And it's going to take a minute to get it creamy, so be patient. We're going to turn it up. I'm going to scrape the sides of the bowl and mix it just a little bit more. Now, my cream cheese wasn't quite room temperature, so it's got some little pieces in there. You can either let it sit here a little bit longer and then mix it again, or just go ahead and bake it, and I'm going to go ahead and bake it. All right. So we're going to get this in our pie crust. Now this has a topping that goes on top. This is going to bake 50 minutes at 325 degrees, so there's no reason to pre-bake your crust. And you're going to make a topping out of sour cream. It's going to be really delicious. Vanilla flavoring, sour cream, and sugar, I think, is what goes in it. And It's pretty much a cheesecake, so I'm excited about it. Yum! We'll get it in the oven. When I was growing up, my mama used this set of cookbooks all the time. You probably had them, or your mama had them. There were a Southern Living set. There was desserts, casseroles. There were meats, salads, all the different books that went with it. And it's a conglomerate of a lot of Southern cooks' recipes. And every recipe has a name and the city that they're from and the state. And I was going through this recipe book because it's one of my favorites and found this recipe from a lady in my hometown. It's called Cheese Surprise Pie. Her name was Mrs. J.W. Langford, Cedartown, Georgia. And I thought that was something else that I had a recipe from my hometown in here. Okay, so oven needs to be 325 degrees. And we're going to bake this 50 minutes. All right, for the topping on the pie, you're going to use about 3 tablespoons of sugar. Some vanilla. Teaspoon. And then a cup of sour cream. And you're just going to mix that up good. Together. When the pie comes out of the oven, we're going to spread this on it and put it back in the oven. Easy. It's been 50 minutes. We're going to take this out and get this creamy topping on there. Fluffy cheesecake. Looks good. Put this on there. You almost hate to put it on there. It's so pretty on the top already. But this will cut some of the sweetness. It'll be good. I'm gonna make a little swirl in it. All right, we're gonna get it back in there. And it's just gonna cook 15 minutes longer. And then we can get it out. Our gorgeous pie is done. Looks delicious. We're going to let it cool down all the way to room temperature before we cut it, all right? And we will see you then. I'm super excited to try this. All right, we're going to slice into this pie and give it a try. Cheese surprise. Cut easy. I'm going to put a little bit of whipping cream on top. Okay, let's get us a bite. Give me a little whipping cream with it. That's so good. I got to get another bite. Oh my goodness, it's delicious. I love it. This is going to be one of my favorite pies. I absolutely love it. I guess because it's from Cedartown. I don't know. Thanks, Mrs. Langford. This is delicious.
All right, let's see. My Lord. You know, I've said it for a long time. And women in Cedartown, they can just cook.
That's the truth.
That's the truth. No lie. It's delicious.
So we want to give a shout out to Miss Langford from Cedartown, Georgia, and say thank you for the recipe. We will see you next time on Collard Valley Cooks, where we cook like Mama did. Bye, y'all. Love ya. Hey y'all, it's Tammy with Collard Valley Cooks, and today we're doing one of my favorites, strawberry cream cheese pie. Easy and so good. Woo! That is so good. So good. Quarter cup is a half stick of butter, and I've got about that already softened, so we'll be using what I've got. And you're going to use 8 ounces of cream cheese at room temperature, and we're going to cream these two together. Quarter cup of sugar. So we're going to cream this together until it's fluffy. I'm just going to use my hand mixer tonight. We're about to make supper too, but I thought I'd make a quick dessert. All right, now we're going to put in a little bit of gelatin. You're going to put in about 3 teaspoons of gelatin, and this is strawberry gelatin because this is going to be a strawberry cream cheese pie, and you can use different flavors if you want to. So we're going to put about 3 of these in. It's 3 teaspoons. 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to put in some Cool Whip. So the recipe says 2 cups of Cool Whip. And this recipe is going to be in our 3rd volume cookbook, which is now, it's available for sale right now online through PayPal right now. Once it's in stock, we'll have it on Amazon. Now we're just going to fold in some strawberries. So I'm going to put my mixer up. I think I got it all over me. I forgot to put my apron on. All right. When you put your strawberries in, you're going to put in about a cup of cut strawberries. And when you cut them, you're going to actually cut them in little pieces, like little squares or triangles, not big pieces. So you're going to use about a cup of strawberries. All right, and here's our cup of strawberries. So you're just going to mix this up. Just that little bit of strawberry jello just gives it enough strawberry flavor. It just makes it good. That's why I like to put the hunks of strawberry, because I don't like for them to make the filling wet and runny. So this is the best way I've done it. I've done it several different ways, and this is my favorite. So we're going to put our filling in here. A lot of it. So if you came in late, a cup of strawberries folded in last. You creamed 8 ounces of cream cheese, 3 teaspoons of gelatin, a half stick of butter, which is a 1/4 cup, a 1/4 cup of sugar, 2 cups of COOKBOOK. I think that's it.
A cup of strawberries.
Oh, and a cup of strawberries. Let me just start over. Now you can top it with your COOKBOOK. So I'm going to make a little border around it for fun, to make it pretty. This is just a Wilton bag, and that's a little rosette border tip. And we're just going to put some Cool Whip in it. This is just whipped topping instead of making homemade. And now we're just gonna lay a couple of strawberries on here just to make it pretty. That's all we're gonna do. And remember, I never make my own crust. Most of the time I just buy them. All right, now y'all remember it hasn't had time to set up and the crumbs are still really soft. But I want to taste it for y'all. That's my excuse for going ahead and cutting it. Yummy! Strawberry cream cheese. I love all these fruity desserts in the summer. Woo! That is so good. So delicious. Y'all need to make this pie. It's so easy. The only bad part is you're going to want to eat the whole thing. Thanks for watching Collard Valley Cooks, where we cook like Mama did. Bye, y'all. Love ya. Hey y'all, I'm Tammy, and this is Collard Valley Cooks, where we cook like our mamas did. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make my favorite pound cake. Boy, is it delicious. It has 9 eggs in it, y'all, and it's 4.5 inches tall, so you better have a big bundt pan. Let's get started. Today I am making my favorite pound cake out of my first cookbook. Sometimes I call it the 9-egg pound cake. So we're going to get started. And of course, when you're mixing up a pound cake, what do you start with? Butter and shortening. Okay, my pound cake has shortening in it, and it is good. So we're going to put in 1 cup of shortening into the mixer. We're going to add 3/4 cups of room temperature salted butter. You do want a little salt in your pound cake. We will be using all-purpose flour. So this is 3/4 cups of room temperature butter going in the mixer with a cup of shortening. And you're going to beat this until it's nice and fluffy. Just going to make sure it's mixed in there good and there's nothing stuck on the sides or the bottom. And now I'm going to add 2 cups of sugar. You need to turn up your mixer and get it real nice and fluffy. All right, my instructions tell you to beat that 2 minutes in order to get it nice and fluffy. And you can tell that it turns color almost white looking when it's ready. Sometimes when you make a cake, you always sift your flour. White lily flour comes pre-sifted. Most of the time, if it's a fresh bag of flour, always look at the date on it before you buy it. It will not have to be sifted. In this pound cake, I do not sift my flour. In some other cakes, I do. Okay, for the best results to make a cake, it's great to use winter wheat flour. White lily flour already is that. A lot of people buy cake flour, and white lily flour is equivalent to cake flour. I have my eggs cracked. There's 9 eggs. And we're just going to add them to the mixer one at a time and let them mix in between each addition. We're going to add a teaspoon of salt and 2 teaspoons of baking powder. We're going to add our flour, 1/2 cup at a time until we get 3 cups of flour in here. going to go ahead and add my vanilla. We're going to put in 2 teaspoons of vanilla and 1 teaspoon of almond flavoring. I'm going to put in a little extra because this is not real extract. And then the almond extract is, we'll put in a teaspoon of almond. Now, if you don't like almond, you can use butter or whatever flavor you want to use. Lemon, coconut, however you want to do it. You could add coconut to the cake mix, and you'd have a coconut pound cake. You're going to let this mix for about 2 minutes, and then we'll pour it up in our large bundt pan. You have to have a 10-cup bundt pan. This is a nice, beautiful pound cake batter. It's my favorite pound cake. It makes a nice crust on the top, crunchy, like I like. All right, I have sprayed a bundt pan, and I prefer spraying it because it has so many cracks and crevices. If you want to, you can grease and flour it. Just make sure everything is greased and floured. This is a very large cake pan. Now, my bundt pan is a 12-cup bundt pan, and this pound cake is going to fill it all the way up. So if you have a 10-cup bundt pan, do not use all of this cake batter. Make a smaller loaf or something else with the remaining batter because it will run over in your stove. Big warning, you better have a 12-cup bundt pan or this will run over in the stove. I have been making this for many, many years. And it's delicious. It's a very nice crusty top with a moist, soft crumb. My biggest spatula is dirty because I made fruitcake last night and I haven't washed it, so it's taking me a minute to fill this up. Now you can tell how much room is left in the top of this larger bundt pan. So if you had a regular bundt pan, this would be reaching the top, okay, with this much cake batter. So just don't let it go past 3/4 full, or you're going to have a mess to clean up in the stove. We're going to slide this into the oven, and we're going to get this baking. Hey, y'all, it's ready, and it smells so good. So we're going to get it out of the oven. Boy, it is gorgeous, y'all. We're going to get it over here on the cooling rack. We're going to let it cool all the way down. Well, it's going to cool about 15 minutes. It's nice and cool in here today. And then we will get it out of the cake pan and cut us a slice while it's warm, okay? All right, we're going to flip our cake out on top of this beautiful cake plate. I have a gorgeous cake dome that's super tall. It is 6 inches tall, so it will hold a really tall cake. Most of the domes made today aren't this tall. You can get this dome on the website under Shop Now. It is very expensive, but it's a gorgeous, large dome. And then if you get the dome, make sure you get a cake plate that will accommodate it. It needs a cake plate that's at least 13 inches, okay? Or it will not fit on top of it. So do not buy a cake plate that's 12 inches. Make sure that it says it's 13 inches. So I'm just gonna do it this way. It's still warm. but it's cooled off enough I can hold the bundt pan. And I wanted to slice it while it was still warm. It's just absolutely gorgeous. There's a little bitty piece. You can see it. I'll give you a close-up view all the way around, and then we're going to slice into it. Okay, we're going to see how tall it is. It looks like it's about 4.5 inches tall. And we're going to see there it is. You can tell this dome is really tall. It's about 6 inches tall. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a standard dome and put on there for you. This is a standard dome. And you can tell it's going to go right up to the top of it. It's fogging it up because it's still warm. Now we're going to give us a slice. I'm going to make a large slice so that you guys can see the cake crumb. Oh, it's nice and warm. We're going to give it a try. Now it's time to eat it, y'all. We're going to have a bite of this delicious pound cake. It is so nice and moist. Wonderful, wonderful texture. Crunchy top. If you want to flip it upside on the other side so that it would cool down, it would have a crunchy top. Boy, it's good. It really is my favorite pound cake, and it's in the first cookbook. I hope you give it a try. And remember, cake can be frozen. So slice up some, put it in the freezer, and have it later for another day. All right? We're going to see you next time we come on with a good old recipe like Mama made. Thanks for watching Collard Valley Cooks. Bye-bye. I love ya.
It's over now. Tammy, she just showed you how to cook it up like Mama used to do. So go on out and have some fun. Now you're getting dinner done with Collard Valley Cooks, your #1. Collard Valley Cooks, hey, we're having fun. Collard Valley Cooks, we're getting dinner done now. Collard Valley Cooks, hey, we're having fun. Collard Valley Cooks, we're getting dinner done.
All right, we're gonna make this in the microwave. Maw Maw and Granny always made it on the stovetop, but it works beautifully in the microwave in a batter bowl. We're gonna start with cornstarch, sugar, and cocoa. So I'm gonna measure like they did, and you're going to use cornstarch, 3 tablespoons, 2, 3. That's a lot of cornstarch, y'all. So that's how they measured back in the day, though. And then 2 heaping tablespoons of cocoa. 1, 2. And then you're going to use a cup of sugar. And you're going to whisk it together really good. Now, if you want a light milk chocolate pie, of course you use a little less cocoa. But if you really want it to taste like Granny's, you'll use a tablespoon, just like I did, and not a level tablespoon, okay? now what we're going to do is we're going to be using some evaporated milk, water, eggs, and we're going to whisk those together in this mix and make a pudding out of it. So now we're going to separate our eggs. Today we're feeding the preacher, so I'm adding an extra egg so that I can make a 5-egg meringue to go on the top. Now you don't have to do that, of course. You can get by, if you're not going to make a meringue at all, you can get by with 3 eggs and just put them in there whole. If you're going to make a meringue, at least use 4 egg whites. Okay, but I'm going to be using 5 egg whites today. So you're going to separate your whites from your yellows, and if you want to be safe, you can always use your hand, and that way you don't have to worry about the shell cutting the yellow. It's the easiest way to do it. We're also going to remove these whites so that our pudding, it doesn't make a lumpy pudding. It's not absolutely required, of course, but Mom always did it. So I'm going to do it since I'm having the preacher over. So I'm going to take this out of there. And I usually just use a fork. It's not always the easiest thing because they're slippery. And those are small enough it don't matter. They'll whisk up in there fine. Now on these, we're just going to get the largest ones off. All right, now we're going to add 1 cup of evaporated milk. It is not condensed sweetened milk, it is just evaporated milk. So you're going to put in a cup of that and a cup of water. Now if you want it to taste like my granny's pie, you'll use the evaporated milk because it does have a certain flavor, just how good, you know how good it is in homemade ice cream and stuff like that. So if you don't have evaporated milk, you can also use regular milk and just use 2 cups of milk. But we're going to use 1 cup evaporated and 1 cup of water. And I added just a little bit to grow on because I've got extra eggs in there today, which means it will make a nice thick pudding. So you're going to whisk this milk in there. And you're going to add the yellows from the eggs. Now, you're going to put in vanilla, but you put vanilla and a little bit of butter in after it comes out of the microwave and after it cooks. Now, this is the same recipe that you can use in a double boiler or in a nonstick saucepan on top of the stove. But I promise, if you make this in the microwave, it will be fast, creamy, perfect, no scorching, no burning. You'll be in love. Now, Mama did use a microwave. She's the one that taught me this trick. She was a caterer. Y'all, it's wonderful. Just give it a try and you'll never go back. Especially on these hot summer days. All right, 3 minutes. The first one. Then you're gonna take it out and you're gonna whisk it really good. And you're gonna cook it until it's nice and thick. So remember, everybody's microwave is a little bit different wattage. So you need to cook your pudding until it's nice and thick, because it's not gonna thicken in the refrigerator. A lot of people make the mistake and think it's gonna be like instant pudding and they're gonna put it in the refrigerator and get it out and they're gonna be able to slice into it and they put it in there too runny, and you can't do that when you're making homemade pudding. So you'll see the consistency of it when I pour it into the shell. You're gonna pre-bake a pie crust and prick it with a fork at 375 until it's nice and golden brown, about 12 minutes, but like I said, golden brown, all right? And you're gonna take it out, and that's where we're gonna put our pudding and meringue. So it's nice for it to be good and hot for when the meringue and the pudding goes on top of it. So make sure that after you take that crust out, you mark your oven temperature down to 350 degrees because this pie is going to bake the meringue at 350 degrees for 20 minutes. Let's go ahead and get our meringue started because it takes it about 3 minutes to mix up. and we want to be able to put it on the pie. As soon as we take our pudding out for the first 3-minute cook and put it back in there, we're gonna start mixing up our meringue, so we need to be ready. All right, you're gonna start with your egg whites. You wanna use a whisk attachment. It's best to use a stand mixer if you have one, because it takes some time to beat up egg whites. And you're gonna add your sugar to your egg whites once they start getting a little frothy, okay? So you're gonna add the sugar gradually. Once it starts getting frothy, I'm telling you that now, because once this mixer turns on, I won't be talking. Now this is after the first 3 minutes. It's mainly just getting nice and hot. You can see it's smoking a little. It hasn't started to thicken yet, and that's good, because you wanna get your whisk down on the bottom of your batter bowl and do a really good job making sure all that cornstarch is mixed in there perfectly. You don't want lumpy pudding, okay? And that's the whole purpose of taking it out after 3 minutes. We're gonna put it back in there for 3 minutes. And while that's cooking, we're gonna start our meringue. So we're gonna go ahead and turn it on high. Now they're frothy, and I'm gonna add my cream of tartar. And I was just looking at my recipe, and I don't really tell you how much cream of tartar. So I usually use about a 1/4 teaspoon to a 1/2 teaspoon. Today I'm using a 1/2, since I did use 5 egg whites. And as soon as I start mixing this up, we'll start adding our sugar. It's really important not to overbeat your egg whites, okay? So you want them to have a stiff peak, and they're ready. They're ready. So be real careful and don't overbeat them. They're just perfect. And you really, I should have tested them a little sooner, but I was over here wiping off the counter, but it's ready. All right, really it takes it right about the same amount of time as it does your pudding. It's a pretty good rule of thumb. Now, you're gonna see how thick the pudding is. You see how nice and thick that is? So you need to really do a good job whisking it so that it doesn't look lumpy or anything. But see how beautiful that looks? And now we're gonna add a little bit of vanilla to it. I'm using Watkins vanilla, just like my granny did, and my mama. And then you're gonna put in a little bit of butter. Now we like to put in at least a couple of tablespoons. Let's see what I say on here. A 1/4 stick, which is a couple of tablespoons, all right? So about a 1/4 stick of butter. And now it's gonna make it shiny and pretty. Your pudding is kind of dull looking until you add that butter in there, and then it gets nice and shiny. We were just talking to a couple of viewers, me and Chris, the other day, and one of them said her favorite thing, one of her favorite things that her brother makes her out of my cookbook is this chocolate pudding. And she just likes to eat it. And of course you can make it just for pudding, for chocolate delight or a dessert, just a pudding cup. Now let's get this pie together while it's still nice and hot. The warmer your meringue is, the better off you are. The warmer your pie and your filling, because it's gonna cook the eggs and the egg whites. Many think that their meringue is weeping because of the sugar, It's not the sugar, it's the eggs. When egg whites do not cook, they're liquid. And your egg whites have to cook or they turn back to liquid. Now you can add cornstarch to your meringue, but I didn't today because cornstarch does tend to make it look a little slightly dull, and I want mine to be pretty and shiny. So the warmer everything is, the more it's going to cook those egg whites. See how pretty that is? Just like Granny's. Now, at this point, if you don't like meringue, you can top it after it cools with Cool Whip or whipping cream. But you got to cool it all the way in the refrigerator first if you're going to do that. So we're going to get this in the oven with this gorgeous meringue. And whenever you use meringue on a pie, it's really best if you do let it come to room temperature. It's really best for your meringue on your pie and your meringue once you get it out of the oven to let it cool down at room temperature before you just slide it in the refrigerator hot, okay? So you want to make sure you get a good seal around the edge first. So we're just going to rotate it and make sure we do that first. So it really needs to seal with the edge of the crust and not have a hole. Yeah, go back and double check, and you can see some little holes in there, and make sure you cover them all in good. Just take your little spatula and get in those little cracks. And really check. Go all the way around your pie and really check and see if you got all of them full, okay? And now we're gonna just make it pretty, all right? And I'm going to, I don't like for it to be too high on the top, not like a mound. And then I'm just gonna make it pretty with my, this little spatula right here. It's what I like to swirl it with. And you can tell the higher the meringue, the more you need to make sure and let it cook good in that oven, okay? Do not take it out too early because you want the egg whites to cook. Nobody wants to eat raw egg whites. Yes, I see these baking shows all the time where they go in and they torch their meringue, and that's all they do to it, and then they serve it, so you're really eating the raw egg whites. And I prefer to bake it in the oven, okay? And it's best if you do. We're gonna slide this in the oven and bake it at 350 for at least 20 to 25 minutes. And it needs to be 350 so that it makes it pretty and golden. You don't want it too brown. I had time to take a shower and dry my hair. That's pretty quick, ain't it? But since I had some pretty little tips on top of my pie, I did turn the temp down to 325 so it would be just gorgeous. And that's how you want it. You want to see little areas of white and gold because it's just super pretty. Now, I want to brag a little bit on what I got it sitting on. And the reason I love this Baker's cookie cooling rack, or whatever you want to call it, is it's got legs and it has handles. Y'all, this has been the best cooling rack I have ever owned. And I'm not just blowing smoke up your butt. You know what I mean? It's just really nice. So if you don't have one or you need a new one, please go through our website and click on Amazon must-haves, and you will find this cooling rack. It may be under bakeware as well, but it is just such a blessing to have because you can pick it up and move stuff around really easy. And I just wanted to show y'all that. We're gonna let this cool down to about room temperature, and we will be having it for dinner tonight. All right, we're slicing a piece of this pie. Now this is at room temperature. It has not been refrigerated at all. So I'm going to show you how it looks at room temperature. And our meringue has wheat just a little bit, but not bad. And your meringue always wants to fall a little bit once it cools down. So keep that in mind as well. You can see it's set up really pretty and it's standing up nice. And there it is. And look how pretty it looks in the pie plate. Looks good. Now that is a pretty piece of pie. And you can tell it's set up perfect. Doesn't even have to be in the refrigerator. Matter of fact, Granny would put hers in the refrigerator after everybody had a piece. All right, so we're gonna give this a try. This is the best one I have made in a long time, and I really think it's because I used a plain old tablespoon out of the drawer. It's more like my Granny's than any I have made in quite a while. So y'all use a big old tablespoon. It's some yummy stuff. So easy to make. It's like a slice of heaven going down memory lane. Nothing was better than going to Granny's and her having a chocolate pie on the table waiting on us. Woo! You just can't get anything any better than that. Y'all, we thank you for watching Collard Valley Cooks, where we cook like Granny B did. Bye, y'all. Love ya. We're making something really good, lemon lush. Now the original recipe doesn't ask you to use a real lemon, but we're gonna put a little bit in there just to make it over the top, okay? The first thing you're gonna do is make your crust, and you're going to use 1 cup of all-purpose flour. And of course I'm using my trusted White Lily. So we're gonna use a cup of flour. We're gonna use this is a stick of margarine, and of course you can use butter if that's what you choose. But you know the original recipe is in the day of margarine, back when everybody used it. All right, and once I blend these two things together until they're crumbly, we're using our wonderful blending fork. You can see how quick that works. Goes right through that fork. Don't get stuck in there like a pastry blender does. The one with all the little prongs that's shaped like a horseshoe kind. This thing is amazing. Most people that have ordered this blending fork are super glad that they did. So what we're doing is we're just blending this butter into this flour well. Then we're going to add a 1/2 cup of pecans. 1/2 cup of chopped pecans. And let's get this mixed in there good. This is a 2.75 quart Pyrex dish. I choose this one because it's clear and it's pretty to put a layered dessert in. All right, so we're going to put this down in the bottom. We're going to get this in the oven and we're going to bake it at 350 degrees. So you're just going to spread it in the bottom of your Pyrex dish. Now you can use, or your baking dish, you can use any baking dish. You can use a 13 by 9. If you use the 13 by 9, it's going to be thinner, so bake it 15 to 20 minutes. But since mine is going in this dish that's not as quite as large on the bottom, I'm going to bake mine 25 minutes because I actually like this to be toasty and the pecans to be nice and toasty in my lemon Lush. Get every bit in there. All right, we're getting this in the oven. Okay, this has cooled down. It's time to start our lemon Lush. We're going to start with our cream cheese layer, and we are going to put in an 8-ounce block of cream cheese. Mine is actually the lower fat kind. You're going to use 1 cup of powdered sugar. And you're going to mix that really good. This lower fat cream cheese is not as stiff as regular cream cheese. So now we're going to add a cup of Cool Whip. I'm just using about half of it. So you're going to buy an 8-ounce container of Cool Whip. And that cream cheese really is not as stiff. So if you're going to make this for a crowd or for company, you may want to use the real thing and not get the lower fat cream cheese like I did. Of course, once it gets cold, it's not going to matter. So we're going to enjoy it regardless. All right, we're going to spread this out. This is our second layer. And I like to make this, like I said, in a clear dish, and that way you can see the layers as you build them. All right. You're going to use 3 cups of milk and 2 packages of pudding mix. I'm making a mess. I should have wore an apron. Now I've got it on my shirt. I guess you're not having fun in the kitchen if you're not making a mess. All right, are y'all ready? Now it's splattered a little bit. Now you can just let it sit here for a minute because it's gonna thicken up a little bit, and then we'll mix it some more before we make too big of a mess. And while we're waiting on that to thicken a little bit, we will wipe off this counter for one, and then we're going to get some zest off this lemon and put a little bit of lemon juice in it. And I'm just going to put a little bit of zest in between the layer, and then we'll use a little zest on the top as well. And now this is not required. It's not a part of the original recipe. But if you're going to make something lemon, why not go ahead and give it a punch with some real lemon, right? I need to cut this lemon open and juice it. So I may as well get a little bit more zest off of it for the top. That should be enough for decor. I'm going to cut the little nubs off of it. A handy dandy lemon squeezer. Try this one. We're going to cut us a thin slice of lemon for the top of the dessert. And then we're going to squeeze this into our pudding. And I think it's just going to make our lemon Lush even better. Than Mama's. Because Mama didn't do this to hers. It's going to be good. See, it's already set up. We're going to get this mixed in there. Wait a minute. I see a seed right there. All right. Now, if you're wondering, will it still set up? Of course it will, because I don't use this that much, can you tell? love watching my show. It's crazy. Woo! Mama didn't have one of them. And they're kind of new to me. All right. Anyway, 1 pack of lemon pudding can set up with pudding. I think you put in 2 cups of cold milk. So 2 packs, you could have used 4. We only used 3. And so it makes it a little bit thicker for a pie. And that lemon juice is not going to hurt it a bit. All right, we're going to get this in our container. It's our next beautiful level. I'm going to taste it with that lemon in there and just see how it tastes. Here, I better spread it first before I put my luscious lips on it, since we're making lemon lush. Oh, ain't that pretty? All right. It's delish. Delish. Okay. This is Cool Whip. We're just gonna make it pretty, y'all. And spread it over the top. If you do not have a piping bag. So this is just the rest of the Cool Whip that was in my Cool Whip canister. A lot of people ask us, can we use whipping cream? I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know. I don't think whipping cream will stay set up like this for as long as Cool Whip. So use it at your own risk, I guess that's what I would have to say. Okay, and when you take you just take your lemon and cut a slit in one side of it and then just twist it. And that one's kind of fat. So we will make it happen. There it is, our lemon lush. Now we're going to take our lemon zest and sprinkle it. And this is always the hard part, when you got a little bit of zest on a paper towel. It all just wants to stick in one spot. So if you got more than 1 lemon, you can just, how's that? That's good. Oh. That's it, y'all. Lemon lush. Does it look lemony good? Y'all, we are going to cut us a piece of this lemon lush, and we've got to get through that bottom. And you know, the first piece is always the hardest to get out, so we're going to cross our fingers. And this thing's not set completely up yet, so it's definitely going to be luscious and creamy. I cut that big piece, and of course it hadn't set up yet, and it just was so luscious that it just, the lemon pudding just went everywhere. And me and Chris took a spoon, we ate the sides off of it, and now we've just scraped the side to show you how pretty it looks in layer form, because that's how it's going to look after it sits up in the refrigerator. But for time's sake, of course, we had to get a video done for you guys. And boy, is it delicious. We've enjoyed eating it already. Super good. Oh, I just love lemon, anything, and lemon's perfect in the summertime. Delicious. Make sure you toast that bottom like I did for 25 minutes or at least 20 to get those pecans nice and toasty, because that makes it taste even better. I love Cool Whip desserts just like my mama did. She loved her Cool Whip. Y'all have a wonderful and blessed day. And thanks so much for watching Collard Valley Cooks, where we cook like our mamas did. Bye, y'all. Love ya. And today, this recipe is in our third cookbook, and you're gonna wanna try this one. It's that delicious strawberry cake, you remember, that has the gelatin in it, and it also has strawberries. Okay, the recipe calls for room temperature eggs, so I actually put my eggs in a little bit of warm water to get them to room temperature quicker. That's a trick. We're gonna crack 4 eggs. You can crack them separate, make sure they're all good. I know mine are all good because I buy eggs really frequently. But sometimes it's better to be safe than sorry. When you're using a cake mix to make one of these, what I call cake mix creations, it's best to put your liquids in first and then put your dry ingredients on top of that. That way you don't have to scrape the bowl. So we're going to add our eggs. Half a cup of water. 3/4 cups of oil. That's just cooking oil. Vegetable oil is what I used. This is a 3-ounce strawberry jello package. Now we're going to be adding sliced strawberries. The sugar is added already. You get these at the grocery store. It's a 16-ounce container. Now in the cake mix, you'll be using the strawberries just as they are out of the container, a heaping 1/2 cup into your cake batter. And then you're going to reserve the rest of them for the icing. Now we're going to add a white cake mix. And you're going to put that in last, and then you're going to mix it for 2 minutes. I always set a timer when I mix up a cake so that I don't overbeat it. Smells delicious, y'all, and it's ready to pour into the pan. Now, a lot of people make the mistake and they don't strain their strawberries before they make their frosting. And so you want to make sure and get most of the water out of them, or your frosting is going to be really runny. So you're going to take the rest of these strawberries and drain them, and then you're going to strain them as good as you can. So you're really going to press them into the strainer, because when you make your frosting, if you don't do this, it's going to be a runny mess. Okay, so make sure that you don't just drain it, you strain it. That strawberry's got a little bit of a leaf on it. I need to just do a really good job of pressing it into the sides of the strainer and getting the majority of the juice off of it. And make sure you flip it over and do it several times. Now, that will make some delicious strawberry icing. That's really all you need. You don't have to have a lot. Whatever's left in your strawberry container. All right, we're going to spray our 13 by 9 cheesecake pan. Quarter sheet, whichever one you want to call it. Make sure you spray it good. We're going to get our cake batter in here and get it in the oven. can see those strawberry pieces going in. All right, we're going to bake this until it's good and done. I'm going to bake it at 350 degrees for at least 35 to 40 minutes. And you're going to make sure that it's done in the middle before you take it out. Which means the middle needs to rise too. Make sure you cook it until it's raised in the middle. Looks delicious. It smells so good. Now you're going to want to cool this cake all the way before you ice it. So don't plan on icing it for at least a few hours after it comes out of the oven. All right, for the strawberry frosting, we're going to start with a stick of room temperature butter and get it in the mixer. And you're going to add about a pound of powdered sugar. Let's go ahead and turn this on. And your strained strawberries. I'll scrape the sides of the mixer. Get all that butter in there. Make it delish. This is the best cake ever. Now you can use this icing recipe on my Godsend cake as well if you want it to be richer. Now, see, the icing turns out nice and really nice consistency as long as you strain those strawberries. Make sure you strain them. If you don't, it's going to be a runny mess. And so I do tell you that in my cookbook. And you might want to give it a taste and make sure it's delicious. You can add a dash of salt to it if you'd like, but now I use salted butter. Yummy. Time to ice the cake. It only makes a little bit of icing. If you're going to want to use this icing to ice a layer cake, you're going to have to double it, the recipe. It's perfect for this sheet cake. And with this strawberry cake, you just ice it in the pan. You can't make a better strawberry cake than this. They're so good. Woo! So good. Thanks for watching Colored Valley Cooks, where we cook like Mama did. Bye, y'all. Love ya.
Cooking time, it's over now. Tammy, she just showed you how to cook it up like Mama used to do. So go on out and have some fun. Now you're getting dinner done with Collard Valley Cook. Sit right back, the time is now. Tammy's gonna show you how to cook it up like Mama used to do. Well, she makes it easy. She shows you tricks. Before too long, it all will click, and the all-star of the kitchen will be you.
All right, this is super fast. So since it's so fast, cut you a little slice of lemon to decorate the top of the pie with, because it only takes a second to make the top of the pie pretty. And now we're gonna finish juicing our lemons. So you're gonna need a 1/2 cup to 3/4 of a cup of lemon juice. And I usually use a little strainer, and that way the seeds will be caught in it. And it's up to you how much lemon juice you want to use in your pie, but I prefer for it to be pretty lemony. And we're right at a 1/2 cup. Okay, watch how fast this goes together. Super simple. You're gonna use 2 cans of Eagle brand sweetened condensed milk. And of course you can buy a different brand, but this is our favorite. Two cans. Stuff is some good stuff. All right, you're gonna put in your lemon juice. And Mama always used egg yolks, and I do too. And you're gonna use 3 egg yolks. Now these, some people say they get cooked by the juice, the acid in the lemons. But if you're a little leery about the eggs, they help the pie set up. So if you're a little leery about them, you can bake your pie in the oven at 350 degrees for 20 minutes. So you don't have to worry about that, but we just eat it. So now we're gonna mix this up. This pie can be made in 5 minutes, y'all. All right, we're gonna put this in our pie crust. Eight ounces of delicious cream cheese. A can of sweetened condensed milk. This is 14 ounces. Yes, this milk does have sugar in it. It is like syrup. So many of y'all asked that question. Many of you love sweetened condensed milk and cream cheese together, of course. Now I'm going to put in about a half cup of lemon juice and a couple of teaspoons of lemon jello. I want to make sure it's good and lemony. Be good. And now we're going to put in a little Cool Whip. All right, I'm going to use part of this on the top of the pie, and I'm going to use half of it inside the pie. I will just fluff it some. You definitely don't want to put this filling on a crust that is hot. So we're going to put this on our crust. And I really did get my crust a little bit too so this is an 8-ounce container of Cool Whip.
Oh yeah, I meant to tell y'all that this is a homemade vanilla crust. It's a vanilla wafer crust. So we'll put the recipe on the end of the description post for it for you.
Now I'm going to take the lemon zest that I zested off the lemon, and I'm just going to lightly sprinkle the top of the pie with it. Delicious lemon cream. Delicious lemon cream. Yummy. And we're going to put in a 1/4 cup of sugar. So just smash it, mash them, smoosh them into the butter. And then we're going to place them in the pie dish. We're going to bake it at 350 degrees for 10 minutes. And you can go 12 minutes if you want to. Come on, right here. Put it right here. That'll be good, good. Now, it's pretty thick, so I'm going to bake it about 12 to 14 minutes. All right, we're going to get it in the oven for about 14 to 15 minutes. All right, we're going to squeeze some lemons. This lemon squeezer has a section that you can use it for limes, or you can flip that over and use it for lemons. So it's got 2 different sizes, which is nice because sometimes you do get fruit that's really big. And we're going to squeeze about at least a ½ cup of lemon juice. And when you squeeze a lemon in the lemon squeezer, the manufacturer recommends that you flip it upside down, just like I'm doing. Squeeze it really good. All out of there. So if you've got some lemons in the refrigerator and you need to use them, grab them things, get them out, and make you a delicious, refreshing lemon pie today. Just like Mama's. Absolutely delicious. Woo! That's some good stuff, and it's so simple, y'all. Thanks so much for watching Collard Valley Cooks, where we cook like Mama did. Bye, y'all. We'll see you next time. Love ya.
Cooking time, it's over now. Tammy, she just showed you how to cook it up like Mama used to do. So go on out and have some fun. Now you're getting dinner done with Collard Valley Cooks, your #1.
we are geared up for Easter, making our little rabbit cake out of a small 6-inch layer. Super fun and easy. You can throw the extra batter in there and make your little rabbit cake along with a few cupcakes. And boy, will your Easter be special. Today we're going to make a little rabbit. Now these are 6-inch layers. They're tiny, but that's all I need because I want to show y'all how to do a rabbit cake. This is a lemon cake layer. You put the head of the rabbit in the middle, and that's the little rabbit's head. Then you take your other round, and you can use any size. You can use any size round layer you want to, according to how many people you want to feed. Okay, so it doesn't matter if you're using a 6-inch layer, an 8, a 9, a 10. You can do the same thing. We used to do this at the bakery all the time. So what you're going to do is you want to leave enough space for a bow tie. So I'm just going to make a mark kind of towards the center. And you're just going to take your knife, and it don't have to be perfect. And you're going to cut a rabbit ear in the shape of a football. Just like that. And then, let's take this off the parchment. And you're going to put the bow tie here for your rabbit. A lot of y'all have done this before. And then you're going to take the ears and turn them the right direction. And then you're just going to cut off the very end so that they can sit against the circle head, just like that. Let's bring that one up a little bit. And then you just decorate him. And you even get 2 little pieces to eat. What about that? All right, so I got all my tips ready to decorate this little man. And one thing kids hate, and we used to do it at the bakery all the time, is they don't really want coconut on these things. But so many of us put them on there, and I know we used to do it at the bakery too. But now these kids would rather have a rabbit that didn't have coconut on it. So today, I am going to use a star tip, and I'm going to star the entire rabbit. And it's going to take me forever to get him covered. So what I'm going to do on the sides is I'm just going to go up and down like this so that it doesn't take me forever to cover this rabbit up. This is just a star tip. Now you can use a little bitty one, but it'll take you all day. So I chose one that was kind of medium size. And I mean, you could be a little more picky with it and go straight up like that if you want to. But most people aren't looking at the side of the rabbit as much as they're looking at, we'll go up straight with this side just so you can tell the difference. After all, this is a demonstration, and y'all can make your rabbit however you like, the way it looks the best. So you could actually just ice your layers, but it's so much easier to me just to use your tip since this is shaped than to try to go around these curves and stuff. All right, I'm just going to take a little spatula and get these edges off that I created over here. Chris likes the other way better than the straight up way. Don't you, baby? So all I'm doing is making this smooth so that when I get ready to fill them in on the top, it's smooth. Now, the biggest deal with filling in something with stars is it takes forever and you don't want to leave holes in it. So you just have to be patient and do the best you can. I am going to star the entire face and ears with white, and then we'll come back and do the bow tie and the inside of the ears pink, okay? So I'm going to just let you see me start. So you want to go around your edges first. We'll put pink in there. This is really soft icing, so it wants to point. So just go around your edges first. And I think when you start in a shape, the cake looks better if you'll go in the shape as you star it. In other words, don't just randomly star it. Go in a circle with the shape that you're matching, or a square, whatever you've got. All right, this is another star tip. It's the same kind, but it's a little bit smaller. And the prettier the star, the prettier the cake really is. The smaller the star, the prettier the cake turns out, is what I'm trying to say. But you just got to have enough strength in your hands and arms to do the tiny little stars. And y'all, I don't have a lot of strength in my arms like I used to, so I didn't use little tiny stars. Okay, we're going to put a little nose on him. Then you do a little mouth. Oh, let's do his bow tie. Now we've got a white, just a big circle tip for his eyes. And I've got to do this straight up or I'll mess him up. And I'm going to make them kind of tall. I'm using a little bit of cornstarch just to barely go over his eye so that it doesn't look so crazy. The reason I'm using cornstarch is because it's better for the black icing to be against a cornstarch where it's dry than to try to use water. If you used water and tried to flatten it out, then when you did his eyeballs, the black would run everywhere. So just flatten it with some cornstarch on your finger. That's all there is to it. Cornstarch don't taste. Okay, taste it. All right, we got some blue. I've got a nice round circle. We're going to make an eyeball, and we're going to put some polka dots on the bow tie. So, here we go. And then we're just going to put a few polka dots on the bow tie. All right, and some black right in the center of the blue. Now, once this dries, you're going to be able to pat that point down with your finger so that it's pretty. We'll just wait for it to dry. And once it dries, then you can just pat those little points down on your rabbit, and we'll take a picture of him then. But there you have him. Simple, dimple, easy, fast, and fun for the kids too. And it's going to be delicious to eat. What I like about using the star tip is you don't put too much icing on it. So it's got the perfect amount on there to me. Now, I hope you've enjoyed watching this beautiful little rabbit cake. I want to put those down so bad. Let me get me a little bit of water. We're going to fix them real quick. You got to be real careful with the black. We'll do it last. Just dip your fingers and pat down your circles. Here we go with the eyes. We'll see how we do. Here we go. Looks better. And you can smooth his little nose out too if you want to. But I think it's cute, just like it is.
I'll smooth it out.
You want me to smooth it?
Yeah.
Chris wants me to smooth his nose.
Smooth nose.
Little smooth nose like the kitty cats and the bunny rabbits.
Okay.
It's like an upside down heart. You like that, Chris?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There you have our little rabbit. Ain't he cute? Super easy, super fun. And I hope you have a happy Easter with all your kids and grandkids and nieces and nephews and friends and family and neighbors and church family. Y'all have a wonderful time. And we thank you for watching Collard Valley Cooks, where we cook like our mamas did. Y'all get in there and always make you a little Easter cake. They're fun and super simple to do. And many of y'all put together gingerbread houses at Christmas. And if you have the time to do that, you could absolutely do one of these. See you next time.